in the young Protoss who we are spawning on top of. The top right, it is the red Protoss Goblin.
Taking on his teammate in the bottom left-hand side. They both represent Platinum Heroes. This is ArT.
Noticeably not Platinum, though.
They're definitely not Platinum League, no. They do seem to be a bit better than that ZG from my findings.
A bit better. What is that, a solid 2,500 MMR difference?
2,500? I think more than that now.
I'm actually not sure. So what, like Diamond is like 4,200 now, right?
Yeah, maybe like high. Yeah, I think like maybe like high Plat, maybe 2,500 is not a bad guess.
Yeah, I
it's
think
more
so.
like 3K, 2,500 to 3,000.
Because neither one of these guys has actually hit 7K, right? And I'm not sure how, do they hover around like 6,500? No.
Yeah, I'd say 6,500. Yeah.
Okay.
But Platinum's not 4K, right? Platinum's like, not in EU at least.
I think you're right, actually. I think you're right.
Because Master League to Diamond is like 4.3, 4.4.
I feel like to a
like
lot of people, we're going to be like the rich people that are like, how much can banana cost? $10. Except it's the not, Masters ranked people. Sorry, guys. You guys can inform us.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what it's like in Platinum League. I've been there for a while. But just some of you want to believe it.
Yeah, right, exactly. This is actually a ploy for us to convince people we aren't Platinum.
Never even been in Platinum.
I don't even know what the number is. You gotta believe me.
Back in my day, we didn't even have MMR. We just sort of guessed when we were going to get promoted.
That's true, actually, yes. You just guessed. Happened whenever you wanted it. We do have something interesting happening, which is that it's not just a 1-gate versus 1-gate expand, even though both of them went for low-ground expansions, right? We do have ArT going up to 2 gateways. So that is, of course, scouted by Goblin. That is not a surprise to him, but it does kind of throw into question what is actually happening.
Yeah, it does make this a little bit intriguing, right? Where, now you've got that kind of bit of extra pressure, and now a robo from ArT as well. Unfortunately, Goblin's robo is pretty quick here, so I much prefer this for Goblin, because if ArT's just going to go Prism and then an extra gateway, Goblin should really just be very well set up to then deal with that, right? So, yeah, not loving it right now in terms of where ArT's potentially taking this, just because Goblin set him nicely. And now if ArT puts a Nexus down, the pressure really still is on him to get some damage done, because his Nexus is just so much later. And like I say, what's he going to have in his favor? A Prism to try and get a couple of Adepts in the main with? I don't see what you're really aiming to do here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think if this was... Okay, the Adepts are not going to get in, so actually really nicely handled here by Goblin. There was definitely a chance he was like, oh, this one structure was going to protect me from the Adepts, so good backup planning. But I agree with you. I think, going for a later Nexus with the same exact technology is going to be worse for ArT. Things could absolutely still happen, but I would have kind of liked it if it was a Nexus then like Twilight Council, for instance. Then Goblin is the one that's like, okay, so my Nexus is ahead, but maybe not that far ahead. Also, I'm stuck with a robo, which, do I choose to go aggressive with it? Do I not? Because that's not usually what you would want to get if it actually is a typical PvP, 2 base to 2 base, blink to blink, right? But now it really is just like, well, all the same stuff. Goblin just has slightly better economy.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's just like, that's exactly it. Goblin just has a better eco to work with here. And I mean, ArT gets into a slightly faster Twilight now, but Goblin already has an Immortal out as well, so you can't say that you're too upset with him there either. Yeah, I just love this a lot for Goblin. Definitely feels like it's going the right direction for him at the moment.
Could easily change, though. 2 Adepts is all it really takes to even up the worker count. I mean, literally right then and there. Oh, nope, they need one more. Oh. Come on. All right, she's gonna die.
Jeez.
That was nice, actually. Again, kudos to Goblin, who could very easily have made 2 mistakes in this PvP that would have had a tremendous difference. Letting the Adepts in the natural would have been 4 probes killed. Letting the Adepts escape in the main would have been another 2 probes killed in just a hot second, So really solidifying his lead.
Yeah, and doing a good job of it, right? Just keeping his calm, like you say, not making the mistakes just yet, just allowing this game to move along nicely for the moment here and put himself in a good little spot. And again, just maintaining that 2-worker lead Goblin, something that just adds up over time. Now getting his own Twilight, so he'll be a bit later on that blink, but again, with an Immortal defensively already out, I don't think he's going to mind too much. Yeah, okay, maybe it gives ArT the aggressive opportunity, but how much is that really going to allow him to do if there's no openings? So as long as Goblin remains defensive, should be fine. And he has his own prism. A couple of adepts could maybe get some work done himself.
His observer just got a full scout into the main of his opponent as well. Maybe playing with fire a little bit by going into the natural where an observer could be popping out, but now Goblin is allowed to do this. And with all this information, there's a lot to be done with harassment-wise, so he knows where the War Prism can or cannot go, and there's obviously just intel, which is always important in StarCraft. So in particular, this intel is going to be, this guy's going right up to a robotics bay, 2-base robotics bay. Definitely not common in PvP. Hell, a lot of people wait till they're on like 4 bases. You know, you still have a lot to play around with on 3 bases. So this is odd, and I don't know how Goblin is going to react, because you definitely don't want to like overreact. But you do want to worry about just letting them get a bunch of disruptors.
Yeah, you say 4 bases. I've seen people, you know, throw 5 armies away against disruptors before being like, okay, fine, I'll build a robo bay. And ArT's
Right.
going to rush up there. It's interesting because he obviously feels like he's got a bit of map control. You know, he's got himself these couple of immortals drop, and he'll have slightly faster blink. As Goblin goes instantly into double Stargate for Phoenix as a response to this. A little bit of a different response to what we usually see, but one that's kind of the older school way of playing it, and I kind of don't mind it when it's like a 2-base variation of this kind of rush to disruptors, because then you really can just pick them up, stop them firing, and if that's everything ArT's investing into, then yeah, it's actually really nice if you can just completely take that away from him.
Exactly, I'm in total agreement. I actually really like this response. It's something that I honestly forget about. You know, if I'm playing this, I'm definitely not thinking about it, because it is one of the oldest ways to deal with it. And the reason that isn't, you know, not really a common occurrence in other PvPs is that there is usually so much else going on. Again, they're on more bases, there's more gateway units to be concerned about, there's more action to be concerned about, so investing into double Stargate yourself is quite a lot. But if, yeah, the guy is really going hardcore investing into disruptors, nicely done there by Goblin. Very nice.
Yeah.
Not even be able to recall out, even taking care of the 3rd base. Again, Goblin seems to be kicking butt. Numbers wise, doesn't seem that bad, right? But I do think he has a real handle on this PvP with these Phoenix.
Goblin's just playing a great game, honestly. So far, it has been absolutely solid from him, right? Just everything you wanted to be. He's not given any, you know, escape opportunities, and he's going to have Phoenix against the disruptors. And what, ArT, a few probes ahead? Okay, sure, we'll see if that can turn into enough for him, but altogether, I just think this has got to be feeling fantastic right now. If you are Goblin, and again, this first fight can just be overwhelming. If the Phoenix just take all the disruptors out of the equation, then you really have no damage output as ArT, because that's everything you've built into.
ArT is about to find out that he is going to be up against Phoenix. I believe Hallucination should see it. Okay, yeah, he just changed shorts as well.
Turns him on.
Yeah, which might have been necessary, but he does it. But, you know, now, what do you do for it?
Yeah.
I mean, Goblin...
So what, exactly?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm going for. It's like, so what? Like, you just know that the guy has a response to what you built up, so what are you going to do? I guess you could say, like, if ArT just, like, stopped building disruptors, which he's already done, he's going into Colossus, actually, which is always interesting, then there's a way that Goblin maybe over-invests into Phoenix. You don't want to have 20 Phoenix, right? Why would you? But it's so easy for Goblin not to do that. Just be like, well, I have an appropriate amount to pick up disruptors and maybe do a little bit of harassment besides that, and then go back into building army. Because I really don't think going up to even 10 Phoenix would be all that bad for Goblin.
No, I feel like going into a good amount of Phoenix here is absolutely fine. So I think it's kind of right what ArT's doing in terms of just like trying to get something else up. Colossi maybe is an okay choice. More so, I like the fact we're definitely getting into charge. We're starting to see that Templar Archives move into Archons, because just everything else, being able to overwhelm on the ground despite the Phoenix lifting disruptors, is now going to be very important. But yeah, I actually felt like maybe Goblin probably was on the right track going across the map, feeling like he had a timing, but he's not going to go. And to be fair, ArT was setting up Sim Cities and Wall-Offs to make sure Goblin was going to be limited in what he can do, so yeah, maybe that was not the wrong call at all for Goblin to turn back around. But now it is getting to this point where over time, you do have to feel these Phoenix are a little bit more of a commitment than what you usually see against disruptors. So does that not pose a problem?
He stops at 11, which I do think is a bit too many, very technically, but I still don't necessarily hate. Certainly if he had gotten any more, I would have just been like, no, definitely not. But, you know, other concerning things is that, yeah, you're right. I think he thought he had a timing. Now he doesn't, so now he's just behind on the upgrade. He's behind on the Templar Archives. He's behind on basically splash damage, because ArT has gone into Colossus, which Goblin's Hallucination, I think, is going to see. Yeah, it does. And while Colossus don't make an appearance very often in PvP anymore, if we are talking about the biggest battles possible, the big old 200v200, just everyone smush, I think Colossus can be very effective. And the Phoenix will have to pick and choose what their job actually is. So if they're engaging the entire time, the Colossus are shooting the entire time, yeah, the Phoenix will eventually kill them, but maybe not fast enough.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix aren't exactly brilliant against Colossus at the end of the day, so let's see what the choice is going to be. I think, obviously, the Phoenix initially have to prioritize these Disruptors, lift them up. He's trying to keep them split away from taking Archon damage as well. Goblin's attack in here is completely misplaced. ArT's preparation for this has been great, and now the Prisma Goblin nearly going down. He's going to try and evacuate some of the Immortals out. He will get 3 of them away. The Stalkers can blink down, but he had to get out of there because that was turned into a complete and utter disaster.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised he did that. I can kind of get posturing, but once those Zealots are being obliterated with basically no return damage, I don't know, man. That was absolutely the sign to get out, but I think he was focusing so much on the Phoenix picking up Disruptors, he kind of didn't pay attention to the rest of the army engagement. Also kind of an anti-timing. He could have waited for his +1 to at least finish. That was a upgrade lead for ArT, which will again happen in just 20 seconds here. And then he also could have spent a lot of bank that he had kind of during the engagement. So it was just, I mean, it was ultimately a very poor decision. And now Goblin, even if he goes, okay, now I understand what's going on, let me try and fix this. Well, now he's down 30, 40 supply. So I don't know if he can fix it.
Yeah, I think it's too late. I think these Phoenix really just didn't provide enough value so far. Like right now, I feel like you've got that left side. Maybe get on top of the Colossi. I get it, you're trying to lift these Disruptors, but these Colossi are killing you on their own accord. GG from Goblin. And ArT is going to make it work. And yeah, gets a 1-0 lead. And obviously for Goblin, this throws a bit of a wrench in the works if he loses this series. Maybe it's not, devastating or anything along those lines. But it definitely gets to that point where it's like, man, I'm potentially right now competing for top 2. A loss here today definitely doesn't help with that, obviously. So, yeah, obviously would love to get back on track here heading into Day to C. I just gotta say, well played by ArT, because I think he really recognized, right, it's Phoenix. In that case, let's wall off. Let's not give him a timing to punish when I'm only on Disruptors, and let's get to the other things. Let's get to Colossi, let's get to Archons, and then we can let half fights happen. That's when I'm going to be okay, because then the Phoenix didn't look like they did anything at all.
Yes, the Phoenix looked absolutely useless. They were used about as well as they could when it came to the final, or the only engagement that ended up mattering, which is that they tried picking up Disruptors and they avoided the Archon shots, but then that really meant they weren't doing very much, all things considered. So the Phoenix looked stupid at that point, but I don't think they were stupid to begin with. I just think that they're, the kudos to ArT for adapting so smoothly. Even though I think Goblin was matching him with the scouting, there was a point where Goblin was clearly like, well, I wanted to do something and I couldn't, so now I'm kind of following your lead as opposed to being advanced, being like above you, I guess, in pacing. And then maybe felt an obligation to do damage because of that. He's like, wait, I thought I got you, but you actually got me. So like, what am I supposed to do here? So he engages, and the engagement just went super, super poorly. I think there is an alternative world where he goes, okay, you got me. Like, I couldn't break you. You've got this really good army. Let me try and play this out. And he uses the Phoenix to harass and buy some time. And then he builds up a big ground army that tries to go for a surround. Which, if you guys watch any Valencia, you would know that a surround on a Colossus-based army is exactly how Colossus look really silly. But he never got the opportunity because he basically gave ArT one of the best engagements possible. And from there, it was easy peasy. So now we are into game 2. In the bottom left, he is the red Protoss, Goblin.
And in the top right-hand side, taking that lead and fighting for that $200 prize money for winning the match is ArT.
Really happy to see that PvP still has even more to offer, man. We had long games, we had short games, we had cheeses, we had counter rushes, we had straight to Tempest battles, we had carrier Tempest battles, we had epic base trades. Like, PvP has actually shown all stages of StarCraft, all technology of the Protoss race so far, thanks to this one now being included, where we actually had someone go 2-base Disruptor into Colossus. So that's very abnormal. Don't even mind if people are like, you guys miscalled that so terribly. Like, oh yeah, I guess so. But
sure, I mean,
that was a very unique PvP where apparently ArT actually knew what he was doing all along, and we were the fools. Goblin was the fool.
I know. I'm like, yeah, sure. Be mad at me then. Like, I mean, it was a wild way to open. And I really looking back, I still don't really like the way ArT opened initially as well. Like, he definitely just got behind for not really much good reason at all, right? So, That's definitely something like, just the 2-gate robo, then expand. Just didn't really hit well based on what his opponent was doing still. But yeah, at the end of the day, it ended up working, didn't it? So he got to an okay spot and was able to make it work out. So let's see what he has planned for game number 2. As we already see differences, Goblin, low ground gateway, and this time it is ArT high ground with the just single gateway still though, right? Oh no, sorry, he's got 2 gates already finished.
Yeah.
Distracted. Didn't see what time in the game it was already.
Yep. So for this position, ArT does need to do some damage or indefinitely delay the Nexus, which is already a failure, so that can't happen. So he needs to do some damage, which I would not be surprised if that is his goal. But the second pylon out on the map, it is going to be all in-house.
Huh. Stargate's interesting here. Kind of interested as to what he tries to do with this. Does it rally just straight to them across the map as well? Yeah. I'm just thinking where he'll go then, because obviously 2-gate Stargate isn't like weird or anything. It's fairly normal, but like you say, he kind of needs to do some damage, and that usually means then 2 oracles, because when is 1 oracle going to be able to be the difference? If there's a battery in preparation from a Goblin who's playing safe because he's got a fast expand in comparison. So yeah, we'll see what ArT chooses, probably just some oracles, and then yeah, taking his own Nexus, but we'll just be playing behind on the expansion. And maybe he's just really afraid of how aggressive Goblin has shown himself to be in previous matches of this event so far.
I think I like this for ArT. I feel like the potential is there for oracles to do a bunch of damage, and Goblin going for a robo. Obviously, it's not unique. It seems to be something that Goblin's one of those Protosses who doesn't mind actually opening up with a robo, even though so many others would just be kind of Stargate or Twilight Council. But it's still, I don't know, the 2 oracles always have vast amount of potential. Then you have a Stargate that can also get a Phoenix in case Goblin did want to go for some Warp Prism harassment, which would be a terrible idea. And he knows it's a Stargate now. A probe actually managed to sneak on in there somehow, even if the Twilight Council go down. So that's very nice for Goblin. But then you're still going to go for a Warp Prism? Okay. All right. Well, that's going to be eventually scouted, I suppose. And Stasis Trap going to come in first and foremost for the Oracle harassment, but still got to worry about the double harassment later on.
Yep. Yeah. Like I say, the second Oracle showing up is where the tower is going to be, or like you say. That's where you can maybe really slip in and get some damage, and we'll see Goblin having to leave some units behind defensively to make sure that that's not going to be too devastating, because the last thing you want to have happen here is for these oracles just get in, pick off 5, 6, 7 workers. Then ArT's going to be more than just back in the game. He's going to be looking great. There's the prism pops, but we don't put anything in yet for the oracles over in the natural, so that's going to be where the damage is done. And you get 5 straight away. Going to go get a sentry as well. Nice, really nice.
Yeah, gonna get the probe, even though 1 oracle lost out in its energy. So the Warp Prism, that is to a depth. It's going across the field. It has not been scouted quite yet. Goblin looks like he might be able to get some return damage. ArT's not going to invest into a Phoenix to even try and tag the Warp Prism. Yes, they could tag it and the Warp Prism just recalls, but then still kind of nullifies the Warp Prism problem, or picks up an Adept even. So there is some potential there for the Goblin side of things. And he also is taking a fairly fast third base. So if he's actually able to defend that, then that's pretty damn good. But I'm afraid that 1, he's going to lose more probes to the oracles, and 2, ArT's going to hit him with Blink Stalkers, and Goblin's not going to have a very good defense on the third base.
Yeah. He's really not going to have a very good defense on that third base, and especially if the oracles are drawing units away, it's going to be very limited what you can defend with. That's why it would be very important to have him keep these oracles alive. Don't let them go down, because that really is... right now, ArT, your best way to get something done here. Plus these stalkers, as you see the battery building in a very hopeful position. 2 Adepts in the main still being annoying, and something that ArT does get stalkers to start dealing with, as he's in the process of cancelling up the third of Goblin. He just doesn't have what he needs to fight them stalkers.
Yes, this was still the biggest issue, was that there just a handful of units came out from, actually kind of went around town, but they eventually got on top of the third Nexus. And there is just nothing that Goblin could really do about it. He didn't have a shield battery, but even if he did, his Immortal wasn't out, and his units had to protect the mineral lines. So, even without that, he didn't really have a whole lot of units to work with. So this is the real crux of the issue. If Goblin continues holding, gets this third Nexus up and running, like it doesn't get canceled again. Okay, well, it's canceled again. And that'd still be okay. But it does get canceled again. It's going to be, I guess, a little bit of a contained situation. And Goblin finds those supply blocks, kind of top it all off. It is not so good for Goblin right now.
No, it is not really feeling so good for Goblin. I mean, just consistently under pressure, can't break out. The power and the map control these Blink Stalkers are providing is just a little bit too much at the moment, quite frankly. So, causing some issues. As you do see the Dark Shrine on the way up from Goblin as well. Definitely realizing he needs to do something a little bit quirky here to kind of get back into this game. And yeah, I mean, he's not wrong to get the DTs and to try and do something with that.
I understand why Protoss players sometimes don't bother with Phoenix, but I feel like with this War Prism being so annoying.
Like one.
Yeah, literally one to force the recall at least. But that will continue to distract. Ultimately, I suppose it doesn't matter. ArT is capable of leaving units behind and also aggressing. So it is okay. I would be annoyed. Oh, beautiful stasis trap. Actually, is that a game-ending stasis trap?
I mean, it might be, right? Because now you can just walk up into this natural. He's actually going to decide just to go for the third again. He could still walk in the natural after. I mean, the two immortals are left behind. Or can he just kill the two immortals after as well? Also, maybe just a possibility here. As he's sitting, he's waiting. He's got a few extra stalkers coming in. He actually now blinks to the natural very late on. I feel like he just waited a bit too long to actually make a move in the end.
Yeah, a little bit, but still holds an 8-worker lead and an army supply lead and an upgrade lead. What he doesn't have is necessarily protection on the front lines, but he has built cannon, so the DTs really shouldn't change the course of the game too much. And he doesn't have disruptors. So Goblin is trying to get there, get enough to actually safeguard a 3-base setup, which I think is, a position where you could turtle a decent bit.
That's a nice kill on one of the Oracles, just removing that threat, because that's something Goblin has had to consistently leave units behind for. He still sits behind by 8 workers in the game. Otherwise, we're pretty even on army supply and so on. Upgrades continuing through for ArT, however, is something else to put him in the lead. And then Goblin will be the first to start building disruptors. So really just kind of one advantage here and one advantage there. I think overall I do like ArT's position. Just having the eco to work with I think is almost always a positive. And yeah, I mean, he's setting up to be aggressive as well on that left-hand side. That gateway setting him up. Meanwhile, Goblin will just get some harassing DTs ready to go. And let's see how much they can get done.
Cancel the 4th base at the very least. But so what about this big attack on the 3rd base? That is in question. Stalkers lead the charge. See if there's nothing there. So they're going to kind of give the green lights. There is a shield battery. There is a disruptor. Is he going to look on top of it? He does. Ooh, that is a big decision. The second disruptor still gets a good shot on a lot of those stalkers, but the zealots have totally encompassed the red Protoss army. Shield battery overcharge, however, that was not focus fired. Now it is, but it did impact the battle quite a bit. Was it enough? The zealots take out the immortals. Goblin's going to go for some reinforcements, but ArT is also reinforcing very quickly, and it does look like this attack will win ArT the game.
My goodness, if he just killed the super battery a little bit sooner, it would have been so much easier. He had absolute access to get rid of it very quickly.